Indifference is one of the most misunderstood yet most powerful forms of emotional strength a woman can develop, especially in romantic relationships. When people hear the word indifference, they think it means acting cold, rude, or heartless. But true indifference, Corey Wayne's style, is simply a calm, grounded, self-respecting way of existing where your emotions no longer depend on someone else's approval or validation. It means you are no longer driven by fear, insecurity, or the need to chase. Instead, you're driven by your sense of self-worth. You move from reacting to responding, from overgiving to observing, from trying to control the situation to being in complete control of yourself. And when you operate from this energy, it becomes impossible for anyone, especially a man, to take you for granted. This shift happens the moment you stop centering your world around him. When you stop texting him first, stop waiting by the phone, stop rearranging your schedule to please him, and stop trying to keep him interested, everything changes. Most men are used to women giving too much too fast, over-investing emotionally, over-explaining, and over-pursuing. When you were doing that, he had certainty. He knew you cared. He knew he had you. He knew that no matter how little effort he put in, you would still be there, still reaching out, still trying to make things work. But the moment you shift into indifference, real, authentic indifference, his certainty disappears, and for a man, losing certainty is like losing oxygen. It unsettles him, it creates mental tension, it forces him to reevaluate everything he thought he understood about you and the dynamic. Men don't chase what's predictable, they chase what's elusive, what feels valuable, what isn't guaranteed. When you emotionally detach from expecting anything from him and you start giving that energy back to yourself, he feels the difference immediately. He might not say anything out loud, but internally, something starts tugging at him. He notices the slower replies. He notices the lack of enthusiasm. He notices you're no longer initiating. He notices that you seem peaceful, unbothered, even happier. And whether he admits it or not, that shift hits his ego and triggers his instinct to re-engage. The power of feminine indifference lies in the fact that it cannot be faked. You can't pretend to be indifferent while still obsessing over him internally. Men feel energy more deeply than they express. If you're secretly anxious, insecure, or waiting for his validation, he will sense it. But when you genuinely stop caring about the outcome, when you truly become okay with whether he stays or goes, your energy changes completely. You become lighter, more grounded, more confident, and ironically, that's when he becomes more drawn to you. Indifference is magnetic because it communicates that you are whole without him. You're not chasing. You're not competing. You're not fighting for a position in his life. You're simply allowing things to unfold, and if he wants to be part of your life, he must earn his place. This energy communicates a powerful message: I want you, but I don't need you. That distinction creates deep attraction. Men are naturally drawn to women who appear fulfilled and emotionally stable because such women are rare. The world is full of people who cling, chase, and crave constant reassurance. A woman who stands in her power, who doesn't collapse when a man pulls away, who doesn't beg, nag, or panic, stands out in his mind. She becomes the woman he compares others to, the woman he thinks about when he's alone, the woman who lingers in his memory because she gives him space to feel his desire instead of trying to manufacture it for him. Indifference also creates clarity. It reveals his true level of interest. If he values you, he'll step up. If he doesn't, he'll fade, and that saves you from wasting your time. When you're overly invested, you often ignore the signs that he's not reciprocating. You justify, excuse, or try harder, but when you're indifferent, you're observing instead of chasing. You watch his behavior, his effort, his consistency. You allow him to show his intentions without your influence. And that allows you to choose from a place of strength instead of emotional dependency. A man who feels your absence will start adjusting his behavior. He becomes more attentive, more curious, more engaged. He starts texting more. He starts checking in. He starts wondering what you're doing, who you're seeing, why you're so calm. He feels the space where your energy used to be, and he wants it back. This isn't manipulation, it's a natural psychological response. When something valuable becomes scarce, its perceived value increases. When your attention was constant, he didn't have to work for it. Now that it's scarce, he must earn it. That shift changes the whole relationship dynamic. Women often fear that indifference will make him leave. But the truth is, if indifference makes him leave, he was already halfway out the door. A man who truly wants you won't disappear when you stop chasing. He will step into the space you've created because men pursue what they want. Indifference simply reveals his truth. And while that truth may hurt at first, it protects you from being emotionally drained by someone who never intended to give you what you were giving him. Most importantly, indifference gives you back your power. When you detach, you stop allowing someone else's inconsistency to destabilize you. You stop being controlled by anxiety or fear of loss. You start acting from your worth rather than your wounds. You become emotionally sovereign, and that makes you irresistible, not just to him, but to yourself. You feel stronger. You feel lighter. You feel more aligned with who you truly are. And from that place, you attract relationships that match your energy instead of draining it. Indifference is not punishment, it's protection. It protects your peace, your dignity, and your emotional balance. It teaches people how to treat you because it sets the tone. You will not tolerate disrespect, half-effort, or inconsistency. If someone wants a place in your life, they must bring real value, they must show up consistently, they must choose you willingly. And if they don't, that's their loss, not yours. Emotional self-control is one of the most powerful and underrated qualities a woman can possess, especially in relationships. When you develop the ability to regulate your emotions, respond intentionally, and stay calm even when things feel uncertain, you instantly become more magnetic. Men are naturally drawn to women who carry themselves with emotional stability, poise, and inner confidence because such women are rare. Most people react impulsively when triggered, sending long emotional texts, demanding answers, chasing for reassurance, or trying to force connection. But a woman who remains grounded and centered communicates that she's in control of herself, her emotions, and her life. That kind of energy is irresistible. When you stop needing a man's validation to feel secure, your entire presence transforms. You stop being overly excited, overly emotional, or overly available. Instead, you become balanced. You aren't trying to impress him, and you aren't trying to convince him to stay. You're simply showing up as your authentic self, calm, confident, and unbothered. This is the essence of feminine magnetism. Men don't fall for anxiety, they fall for peace. They fall for the woman who is able to hold herself together even when she feels uncertain. They fall for the woman who knows her worth without needing constant external confirmation. Emotional self-control sends a subconscious message that you are a high-value woman because you aren't driven by insecurity or desperation. You're not afraid to lose him. You're not clinging to the outcome. You're not trying to rush the connection. Instead, you're allowing things to unfold naturally. This creates an emotional tension that pulls him toward you because men crave the feeling of earning a woman's affection. When everything is handed to them too quickly, they lose interest. But when a woman remains composed, selective, and emotionally balanced, she naturally becomes more desirable. This self-control Self-control shows up in small behaviors that make big differences. You stop over-texting. You stop explaining yourself too much. You stop apologizing for wanting respect. You stop reacting to every little shift in his behavior. You stop imagining worst case scenarios and acting out of fear. Instead, you observe, you stay patient, you allow him to come to you at his own pace, you give him the opportunity to lead, to initiate, to invest. This makes him feel like a man, and that dynamic is crucial in creating long-term attraction. When a woman reacts emotionally, she unknowingly kills the mystery and feminine energy that initially drew him in. Men often pull away not because they don't care, but because they feel overwhelmed. They don't know how to process emotional intensity the way women do. But emotional self-control diffuses that pressure. Instead of chasing after him when he withdraws, you give him space. Instead of questioning him or demanding reassurance, you trust in yourself. Instead of spiraling into anxiety, you redirect your energy toward your own life, your goals, your peace, your self-improvement. This not only protects your dignity, but also makes him feel safer with you. Men feel safe with emotionally grounded women because they know they won't be punished for normal human behavior. They won't be attacked for needing space. They won't be smothered. They won't be dragged into unnecessary emotional storms. A woman with emotional self-control becomes the calm in a man's life, not the chaos, and that calm is addictive. It's the kind of energy that stays on his mind even when he's busy. It's the kind of energy he remembers when he's alone. It's the kind of energy that makes him want to step up and be a better man. Most women underestimate how powerful silence, patience, and non-reactivity can be. When you don't react to everything he does, he becomes more aware of his own behavior. If he pulls away and you don't chase, he wonders why. If he takes long to text back and you simply continue living your life, he begins to question what you're doing. If he gives you mixed signals and you don't cling to them, he feels the lack of your emotional investment. This triggers his curiosity, his desire, and his instinctual need to regain your attention. But emotional self-control is not about manipulation, it's about mastery. It's about choosing not to respond from fear. It's about recognizing that your emotions are yours to manage, not his to fix. It's about learning to sit with discomfort instead of reacting impulsively. When you can do that, you develop an unstoppable sense of inner power. You stop trying to be chosen and start choosing. You stop settling for breadcrumbs and start demanding consistency. You stop chasing potential and start valuing actions. When a man sees that you aren't emotionally dependent on him, he respects you more deeply. He knows he can't play games with you because you won't participate. He knows he can't breadcrumb you because you won't tolerate it. He knows he can't push your boundaries because you will walk away without drama. A woman with emotional discipline becomes unpredictable in the most attractive way, not because she's trying to be, but because she isn't ruled by her emotions. Men chase what they can't control. When you stop reacting, you become uncontrollable, not in a chaotic sense, but in an empowered one. Your emotional independence forces him to step up, because that's the only way he can stay connected to you. Emotional self-control also makes your interactions smoother and more harmonious. You speak calmly, even when discussing difficult topics. You express your feelings without attacking. You set boundaries without threats. You know when to communicate and when to fall back. You don't create unnecessary drama. You don't escalate conflicts. This emotional maturity elevates your entire presence. It shows him that you're a woman who knows herself, understands her emotions, and refuses to be overwhelmed by them. That makes you stand out. In a world full of emotional reactivity, a woman who can remain centered becomes a rare jewel. She becomes the type of woman who is remembered, valued, and cherished. Men are drawn to women who maintain their power during uncertainty, who stay graceful during distance, and who remain confident even when feelings are strong. Emotional self-control allows you to love without losing yourself. It allows you to connect without clinging. It allows you to care without collapsing, and when you can do that, you become irresistibly magnetic. A man can only feel comfortable taking you for granted when he believes he has your full attention, your emotional investment, and your loyalty without ever having to earn it. When you're always available, always responding instantly, always initiating conversations, or always trying to fix things first, he becomes certain of your place in his life. And certainty breeds complacency. But the moment you withdraw your attention, even slightly, everything shifts inside his mind. Men are wired to pursue what they feel they are losing, not what feels guaranteed. So when you suddenly stop investing the way you used to, he starts experiencing an internal panic that he may not show on the surface, but he feels it deeply. This panic doesn't come from love alone. It comes from biology, ego, and psychology working together. Men are competitive by nature. They want to feel like they're winning in life, especially in relationships. And one of the ways they gauge this win is by how much influence or emotional significance they feel they have with a woman. When your attention is constantly directed toward him, your calls, your texts, your concern, your energy, he feels he has secured that win. He feels chosen. He feels in control. But once you stop giving him that consistent attention he's used to, he no longer feels like he's winning. He starts questioning himself, asterisk, did something change? Did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? Asterisk, these questions create the discomfort that pushes him to re-engage. What most women don't realize is how sensitive men are to changes in emotional availability. Even subtle shifts impact them significantly. When you pull back, he notices the difference immediately, even if he acts cool or detached. He notices your slower replies, your lack of enthusiasm, your shorter messages, or your busy schedule. He notices that you're not asking about his day, not trying to make plans, not initiating calls, and it bothers him, not because he wants control, but because it disrupts his internal balance. Men feel safest when they know where they stand with a woman. The moment he doesn't feel that certainty, he becomes emotionally uneasy. This uneasiness triggers a natural instinct to reclaim your attention. A man who once ignored your messages will suddenly respond faster. A man who didn't make plans will start asking to see you. A man who acted indifferent will suddenly become more attentive. He might even act confused or irritated, but underneath that emotion is fear. The fear of losing you. It's ironic because this same fear was never present when you were giving him all the attention. It surfaces only when that attention is no longer guaranteed. Men often underestimate a woman's value when she is fully invested. They see the effort, but don't feel the scarcity. They enjoy the attention, but don't appreciate its meaning. When you pull back, they are forced to consider what your absence feels like. They feel the quiet differently than you do. For a woman, withdrawing attention is often a deliberate act of self-protection. For a man, receiving less attention feels like a silent alarm going off internally. It creates a sense of what happened that loops in his mind throughout the day. He starts wondering who else might be getting the attention he used to receive effortlessly. Even if you're not giving it to anyone, the possibility itself is enough to make him rethink everything. Men are territorial in relationships, not in a controlling way, but in an instinctive way. When a woman emotionally withdraws, even just by focusing more on herself, he senses a threat to his territory. This triggers territorial and competitive instincts he didn't feel when he assumed he had you fully. And the interesting thing is, The more calm and non-reactive you are during this phase, the stronger his emotional response becomes. If you panic, chase, or confront him during distance, you reaffirm his comfort. He still has you no matter what. But when you stay relaxed, composed, and somewhat indifferent, he starts realizing that your attention isn't something he can take lightly. It has value, it has meaning, it's not infinite, and that's when he begins working to earn it again. This dynamic is not about manipulation, it's about balance. Relationships become unhealthy when one person gives too much while the other gives too little. When you withdraw your attention, you're not trying to hurt him. You're simply restoring balance. You're shifting from overinvesting to matching his energy. You're allowing him to show you his intention without forcing it. You're giving him the space to step forward instead of always meeting him halfway. And when he starts stepping forward again, it's not just because he misses you. It's because your absence made him reflect on his behavior. He starts replaying conversations, analyzing his actions, and trying to understand where he went wrong. This reflection is crucial because it leads to real change. Men grow when they feel the impact of losing something meaningful. They become more intentional, more present, and more appreciative. Eventually, he'll come back not just to regain your attention, but to restore his sense of connection with you. But the version of him that returns is different from the version that took you for granted. He's more aware, more invested, more careful with your feelings, because now he knows that your attention isn't automatic, it's earned. In the end, withdrawing your attention isn't about punishment. It's about reclaiming your energy, your self-respect, and your emotional balance. When a woman stops overgiving, she becomes more powerful in a man's eyes. Not because she's trying to control him, but because she's finally controlling herself. And when you take your focus off him and place it back on your life, you become the woman he can't stop thinking about. The woman he suddenly fears losing, the woman he wants to chase, the woman whose presence he once took for granted but now longs to have again. Detachment is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships because it creates clarity, respect, and emotional balance. Many people misunderstand detachment, thinking it means acting cold, harsh, or emotionless. But true detachment isn't about shutting down. It's about staying centered. It means you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that disrupts your peace. It means you care, but not at the expense of your dignity. You love, but not to the point of self-abandonment. When a woman embodies this kind of emotional independence, a man cannot help but see her differently. He sees her as someone who knows her worth, someone who doesn't tolerate disrespect, someone who can walk away if her standards are not met. And that forces him to respect her. Respect is not something you can beg for. You can't convince someone to respect you by explaining, pleading, or trying harder. Respect is earned through behavior, through consistency, boundaries, and how you carry yourself. When you show a man that you don't fear losing him, it communicates something incredibly powerful. You will not betray yourself just to keep him. This alone separates you from the majority of people who tolerate poor behavior out of fear of being alone. When you detach, you stop rewarding inconsistency, you stop entertaining excuses, you stop giving second chances to patterns that keep repeating. Instead, you respond with calm disinterest. Not anger, not desperation, just clarity and composure. That composure hits him harder than any emotional reaction ever could. Men pay attention when a woman detaches without drama. Drama gives them something to fight against or dismiss. Silence makes them face themselves. When you walk away from a situation that doesn't align with your standards, it forces him to reflect. He realizes that you're not like others who tolerate breadcrumbs. You're not competing for him. You're not waiting around for him to change. You're simply done accepting anything less than what you deserve. That's when respect begins, because you have shown that yourself. Love is stronger than your attachment to him. Detachment also puts the responsibility back on the man. Instead of you trying to keep the relationship alive, he now has to decide whether he's willing to show up. If he wants you, he will make the effort. If he doesn't, he will fade. And either outcome is a win for you because you're no longer stuck in uncertainty. You're no longer holding on to someone who isn't holding on to you. Detachment reveals truth. It exposes his intentions without you having to ask. A man who truly cares will not let a woman like you slip away. He will pursue, initiate, and take accountability. He will feel the shift in your energy and rise to meet you. A man who doesn't care will let the distance remain. And that clarity frees you from wasting time, energy, or emotions on someone who cannot reciprocate. When you detach, the dynamic shifts because you are no longer emotionally dependent on him. You stop reacting to every text, every mood, every inconsistency. You stop needing closure or reassurance. You stop obsessing about where things are headed. Instead, you let actions speak. You observe his effort. You allow space. You accept reality instead of forcing it. That acceptance is powerful because it reflects inner strength. You're not trying to control him, you're simply controlling yourself. Men deeply respect women who can walk away without looking back. That's not because they want to lose such women. It's because they realize they cannot play games or manipulate someone who has such strong self-respect. Your silence becomes your boundary, your distance becomes your standard, your emotional independence becomes your filter for who deserves you. A man who takes you seriously will respond with effort, not excuses. He will stop doing the bare minimum and start showing consistency. He will try to rebuild the connection because your detachment has shown him what life feels like without your presence. And for a man who values you, that feeling is uncomfortable enough to push him into action. Another powerful aspect of detachment is that it protects your emotional well-being. When you detach, you no longer allow someone's behavior to dictate your happiness. Whether he stays or goes, you remain stable. Whether he invests or withdraws, you stay grounded. That emotional independence makes you harder to replace because it means you're not relying on him for your identity. You're not losing yourself in the relationship. You're not placing your entire value in someone else's hands. This security creates a calm and confident energy that men find irresistible. A woman who is detached doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't cling, she chooses. She doesn't argue her worth, she shows it. She doesn't fear being alone. She embraces solitude as a source of strength. That mindset is rare. Most people operate out of fear, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of losing love. But detachment removes fear from the equation. You're not afraid of losing him because you trust yourself to stand on your own. That trust radiates power, and here's the truth: men fall hardest for the woman who is capable of living without them but chooses them anyway. It makes him feel chosen, valued, and respected, not because he's needed, but because he's wanted. That distinction makes the relationship stronger. When you detach, he comes toward you with intention, not impulsiveness. He behaves better because he knows he must maintain the connection, not because you will fight to keep it alive. He sees you as an equal, not someone who will accept anything just to avoid losing him. Ultimately, detachment is the foundation of true feminine strength. It allows you to hold your standards without apology. It forces him to step up or step out. It creates a dynamic where respect grows naturally. A man cannot respect a woman who tolerates disrespect, but he will always respect the woman who is willing to walk away from anything that doesn't honor her. And ironically, that's the very woman he will fight the hardest to keep.